Mr. Speaker, on this legislation, I think it's important that individuals understand probation officers. I worked at the courthouse in Houston, Texas as a prosecutor and then as a criminal court judge for 22 years. I had probation officers report to me. That was our system. But I knew a lot of probation officers, federal and state. They do a job that I think our society does not understand how important their job is. A person comes to court charged with a crime, and the judge decides to release that person on supervised probation. And the person that goes back out into the community and is supposed to follow a bunch of rules are the revoked. Probation officers not only have probationers come to their office to report, but probation officers go out there where these probationers are, in their homes and where they're working, and check up on them, trying to make sure they toe the line. It is a very, very dangerous job, in my opinion. Many of these probation officers work alone just because of budget problems. And so they'll go out there and they will talk to some probationer about their probation, try to encourage them to, for example, get a job. That's what you're supposed to do when you're on probation. And they encounter other people, sometimes family members, sometimes friends, sometimes roommates, business associates, and they start yelling and screaming at the probation officer. Sometimes they commit a crime against the probation officer. What is the probation officer supposed to do? Call the police? No. Under this legislation, it allows the probation officer to arrest other people who are basically committing a crime against the probation officer, whether it's an assault or whether it's a threat or whether it's interfering maybe with the arrest of the probationer. That's what this legislation does. It helps protect the probation officer when they're out there trying to rehabilitate probationers. And I have heard stories over the 22 years at the courthouse from probation officers about how when they go out in one of these areas of Houston, Texas, some of the people that are there with the probationer aren't the nicest folks in the world. And they start yelling, screaming, and actually will commit a crime against the probation officer. For example, a threat, or even an assault. And remember, many of these individuals are working alone. They don't go out there with the SWAT team. They're out there by themselves. And they're doing really what we want them to do to keep that probationer following the straight and narrow, make sure they're doing what they're supposed to do, and then sometimes people interfere. And this legislation protects the probation officer and allows the officer to keep those folks at bay and arrest them. Now, I've heard about the concerns of whether or not this is a violation of the Fourth Amendment. There's no one more supportive of the Fourth Amendment than I am. And it does not violate the Fourth Amendment. It gives the probation officer authority to arrest only after probable cause and really that a crime was committed. And rather than call for help, call for the Texas Rangers, they can actually arrest that individual that is interfering. So I do not believe it's a violation of the Fourth Amendment. I would hope those people that think so would read the Fourth Amendment and then read the statute as well. So I support this legislation. I appreciate what Sheriff Reichert had to say and the chairman. And that's just the way it is, Mr.